The young and the restless spoilers. Summer Newman paced back and forth across the plush carpet of her living room, Harrison cradled in her arms. The late afternoon sunlight streamed in through the tall windows, casting long, golden rays that did nothing to warm the icy knot in her chest. Every day, the same scene. She'd hold her little boy close, tears streaking down her cheeks, and whisper that everything would be all right, though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. Because Claire and Kyle's bond was growing stronger by the hour. Summer could feel it, in the stolen glances, the shared laughter, the way Kyle's eyes lit up when Claire entered the room. It was as if every smile, every touch, cemented a future in which Summer had no place. She knew, down to the marrow of her bones, that if things continued as they were, she would lose Kyle forever. Harrison whimpered, tugging at her blouse. Summer pressed a kiss to the top of his head. "Shoo, baby," she murmured. "Mommy's trying to fix things, I promise." Harrison was just 3, but already he sensed the tension. He clung to her as if she were his only anchor in a stormy sea. He always sided with his mother, the silent witness to her heartbreak. But Kyle stood firm. He claimed that he was in love with Claire, that his future lay with her, not Summer. Summer could not bear it. She replayed every moment they had ever shared, their first kiss under the fireworks, the late-night phone calls, the promise he had whispered in her ear at the beach. How had it all slipped through her fingers? And how had Claire, that smiling interloper, wormed her way into Kyle's heart? Her chest tightened. Desperation clouded her judgment. She would not stand by and watch her world crumble. She would fight for Kyle's love, by any means necessary. A dark pact that evening, Summer slipped into the shadows of Crimson Lights Cafe, a dimly lit haunt where she had arranged to meet Phyllis Summers, her mother. Phyllis sat at a corner booth, half hidden by the gloom, a cup of coffee untouched before her. Her eyes, once warm and motherly, glinted now with an unsettling intensity. "Mom," Summer began, voice low. She slid into the seat opposite, Harrison safely ensconced with his grandmother. "We can't lose him." Phyllis's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Of course not, sweetheart. You deserve Kyle. You both do." She leaned forward, fingers steepled. "What do you have in mind?" Summer swallowed. Her throat was dry. "Claire." She let the name hang between them like a threat. "She's the problem. If she weren't here, if she never existed, Kyle would see things clearly. He'd come back to me." Phyllis nodded approvingly. "So what are you suggesting?" A tremor ran through Summer's hands as she took a deep breath. "We have to eliminate her." She spoke the words so softly that only Phyllis and Harrison could hear. "I mean, kill her. And make her disappear." Phyllis's eyes gleamed. "I thought you'd never ask." Crafting the unthinkable over the next few days, mother and daughter worked in hushed tones, plotting the unthinkable. They met in Phyllis's elegant but private study, walls lined with books and family portraits. Summer brought lists of Claire's routines, her jogging route through the park, her volunteer shifts at the animal shelter, her favorite coffee shop on Main Street. Phyllis, with her years of ruthless experience in the cutthroat world of Newman Enterprises, provided the strategic mind. She sketched diagrams of the back alleys, the less frequented entrances to Claire's apartment building, and escape routes. She even suggested they borrow an untraceable car, one they could later abandon without leaving a paper trail. Summer's heart pounded with a mix of fear and adrenaline. She had never done anything like this. Never even raised her hand in anger, save for the day Kyle had left her in Genoa City. Yet here she was, co-conspirator to murder. But she convinced herself, this was for Harrison. This was for her love. This was the only way to save her family. The plan in motion one moonless night, Summer slipped out of her own house, clutching a small duffel bag filled with gloves, zip ties, and a silenced pistol Phyllis had procured. She met Phyllis in the shadow of a deserted alley behind Claire's building. Harrison was already in the car with a trusted nanny, an accomplice who would drive them away if things went south. Phyllis guided Summer toward the back entrance. Claire's apartment lay on the second floor. The window was ajar, a faint light glowed inside. Summer's breath came in ragged gasps. She placed her gloved hand on the window frame, climbed in, and froze. There, in the center of the room, was Claire. She sat at her vanity mirror, brushing her hair, oblivious to the danger creeping in behind her. Summer's pulse thundered in her ears. She raised the pistol, hand shaking. A single shot would be enough. It would be quick. Kyle would mourn, grieve, and then return to Summer, grateful that she had rid him of the woman who had nearly stolen his heart. But just as Summer squeezed the trigger, Claire turned. Their eyes met. Fear, confusion, and betrayal flickered in Claire's gaze. Time slowed. Summer's finger trembled on the trigger. A moment of reckoning in that suspended heartbeat, memories flooded Summer's mind. Claire's gentle laugh when she comforted Harrison at the park. The way Claire had once offered Summer a sympathetic smile when Summer confided in her about her fears. The way Claire had always treated Harrison like her own. Summer's finger twitched, and the pistol slipped from her grasp. It clattered to the floor. Phyllis, standing in the doorway, hissed, "Don't be a fool." But Summer was shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. "I can't," she whispered. I'm sorry." Claire sprang to her feet, backing away, eyes wide. Summer sank to her knees, sobbing. The cold reality of what she had almost done crashed into her like a tidal wave. Phyllis's face contorted with rage. "Get up," she snarled. "We finish this now." But Summer stood, looked her mother in the eye, and found her own strength. "No. I won't let you turn me into a monster." Aftermath and redemption. The sirens came first, distant, then rapidly approaching. Someone had called the police. Perhaps a neighbor heard the gunshot. Perhaps Claire, in her shock, dialed 911. Within minutes, lights flashed in the alley, and uniformed officers flooded the scene. Summer raised her hands. Phyllis, furious and betrayed, slipped out a side exit, disappearing into the night. Harrison's nanny ushered him into the car, frightened but unharmed. Claire, wrapped in a blanket, sat trembling in the back of a patrol car. Summer watched as they took Claire away. In her chest, something heavier than regret settled, relief. She had chosen mercy over madness, compassion over cruelty. In the days that followed, the scandal broke across Genoa City. Phyllis vanished from sight, facing police questions and family fury. Kyle, heartbroken and furious, severed ties with his mother. He rushed to Summer's side, finding her at the Newman estate, bloodless but broken. Summer held Harrison in one arm, in the other, she reached for Kyle's hand. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I almost lost myself. But I love you both more than anything." Kyle looked at her, eyes red but softening. He knelt, taking Harrison and then Summer into a tentative embrace. "We'll get through this," he said. "Together." And in that fragile moment, Summer realized that true love, real love, wasn't about possession or revenge. It was about forgiveness, redemption, and the courage to choose life, even when darkness beckoned. Below is the next dramatic installment, weaving in corporate intrigue, simmering jealousy, and tender moments set in the elegant society lounge. It clocks in at over 5,000 characters, deepening the conflict between Claire, Kyle, Summer, and Chance. The grand ballroom of society pulsed with the low thrum of conversation and clinking glasses. Chandeliers showered the polished marble floor in warm light. Kyle Abbott, impeccably dressed in a midnight blue tuxedo, guided Claire into the private lounge off to the side, an intimate alcove curtained in burgundy velvet. He had promised her clarity tonight, but as they settled into leather armchairs, Claire's brow remained furrowed. "Kyle," she began, voice soft but tense, "I can't shake the feeling that something's off with this whole project you're working on with Jack." He offered her a reassuring smile, but she detected a flicker of unease in his eyes. "Claire, please don't worry. Jack and I are just exploring a new distribution model for Abbott Cosmetics, nothing more." He leaned forward, hands clasped. "It's entirely above board. There's no Victor involved this time, I swear." Claire pressed her lips together. "But your last 2 meetings were held at Newman Enterprises. And you've been unusually evasive when I ask about specifics. You know how I worry, especially given everything Victor's done to both our families." Kyle inhaled slowly, searching for the right words. "I get it. Victor's history with us is complicated. But I promise you, this time it's strictly Abbott business. Jack wants to leverage some of Newman's supply chain contacts that Jack cultivated before Victor even came into the picture. I didn't mention Victor because he isn't part of this." Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "So it's purely logistics? No hidden agendas?" "Pure logistics." Kyle reached across the small table and took her hand. "And I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think it was the best way to secure Abbott's future, and ours." Claire's eyes glistened in the lamplight. She smiled, a genuine warmth returning to her expression. "I trust you." She leaned in and kissed him lightly, the kind of tender, unhurried kiss that sent a thrill through her chest. Just then, the lounge doors opened and Summer Newman swept in, trailing the ghost of last night's tears on her cheeks. Her eyes locked onto Claire and Kyle, caught mid-embrace. A flash of hurt and rage crossed her face. Kyle and Claire broke apart instantly, turning to greet Summer with polite, practiced smiles. "Hey, Summer," Kyle said, his tone friendly but cautious. He stood and offered her an arm. "You're here." Claire rose as well, smoothing her dress. "Summer, hi. We didn't expect you so soon." Summer forced a smile that barely reached her eyes. "I was craving a drink." She slid into the chair that Kyle had vacated. "I'm so glad I ran into you both." She glanced at Claire's hand still resting on Kyle's arm. "Just chatting business, right?" Kyle cleared his throat. "Yes, business." He gave Claire a quick, meaningful look. "I was just telling Claire about the Abbott-Newman collaboration." Summer's lips thinned. "Right. That." She folded her arms, leaning back, and watched them both with an intensity that made Claire's skin prickle. A waiter glided by with a tray of champagne flutes. Summer took one, her eyes never leaving Claire's face. "Thanks," she said softly, then took a deliberate sip. Kyle tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. "So, Summer, how are things with Harrison? He must be growing like a weed." Summer managed a curt nod. "He's fine." She set her glass down with a soft clink. "Busy as ever." Claire offered her a warm smile. "He must be adorable at that age." Summer's gaze flicked back to Claire. "He is. Very." But there was steel beneath her words. She looked away, out into the main ballroom, as if searching for an escape. Kyle noticed Summer's taut posture and sighed inwardly. He turned back to Claire. "I'm sorry. Summer's had a rough week." Claire nodded sympathetically. "Of course. I didn't mean to intrude." Summer shot them both a glare before forcing a laugh. "No intrusion. You two go on. I'll be around." With that, Claire and Kyle rose. Kyle offered his arm to Claire again, and they strolled back into the ballroom proper, leaving Summer alone in the dim alcove. Chance's intervention across the room. Chance Chancellor had been watching the scene unfold. He saw Summer's shoulders stiffen as Claire and Kyle drifted away, hand in hand. He knew that look all too well: jealousy, hurt, a simmering anger that refused to be quelled. Chance had always cared for Summer, ever since their chance encounter at the Genoa City Grand Hotel months ago. He recognized the signs of her turmoil. Moments later, Summer excused herself from her table and drifted toward the bar, shoulders hunched. Chance intercepted her, placing a gentle hand on her elbow. "Hey," he said quietly. "You okay?" Summer glanced up, startled. She blinked back the shadow in her eyes and plastered on a smile. "I'm fine, Chance." He nodded, unconvinced. "I saw you back there. I know what that look means." Summer bristled. "It means I saw Kyle with Claire." "What look do you think it was?" Chance kept his voice low. "I think you were hurt. Jealous. I think you need to stop pretending you're fine." Summer's jaw clenched. "Jealous? Of Claire? You think that's what this is about?" Chance leaned closer, voice earnest. "I think you care about Kyle. I think you want him back. And I think watching him fawn over Claire in front of you is torture." Summer's eyes flickered, her resolve wavering. She turned away, staring into her empty glass. "Maybe you're right." Chance placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to play this game. If you're not ready to see them together, maybe you should step back. Take care of yourself and Harrison." Summer's shoulders sagged as if she'd been carrying the weight of the world. "I don't know what to do, Chance. I feel like I'm losing everything." He gave her shoulder a squeeze. "Then let me help you. You don't have to go through this alone." Summer looked up at him, vulnerability and gratitude mingling in her gaze. For a moment, she allowed herself to lean on him, something she hadn't done since Kyle left. The music swelled in the background as couples danced under the chandeliers, but Summer felt a flicker of calm in Chance's presence. A new resolution as the evening wound down, Summer found herself at a crossroads. She could continue to seethe in jealousy, to plot and scheme, or she could choose a different path, one of self-respect and healing. Chance's concern reminded her that she deserved better than to be a bystander in Kyle's life, watching him slip further away. She took a deep breath, lifted her chin, and made a decision. Tomorrow, she would focus on herself and Harrison. She would seek a fresh start, perhaps a new job, new friends, new ambitions. And if Kyle truly belonged with Claire, then she would find the strength to let him go. Summer turned to Chance, a tentative smile on her lips. "Thank you," she whispered. He returned her smile. "Anytime." In that moment, amid the glitter and gossip of society, Summer Newman discovered the first glimmer of hope and the courage to reclaim her life. The dance floor may have been crowded, but her steps from here on out would be her own.